Well, good morning, and thank you for joining the Women's Business Center of Richmond at ESPN Richmond's 106.1. Today, we have another amazing episode of our Winning with Wow radio broadcast. We're so excited to be able to talk to entrepreneurs that have a little seasoning on them, that have an opportunity to share some insight, give some guidance, but more importantly, just to tell their story. So today I am joined by Michelle Logan. Hello, Michelle.
Hi there.
Thank you for joining us today. And I of course I have a little privilege of knowing a little bit about the fact that you have been an entrepreneur very early in your life. And so, if you have only a few minutes that you can garner the attention of our listeners and our viewers, please share with them, what is it that helped to make Michelle Logan the entrepreneur that you are today? That messaging that just breaks through, is really on you. If you could introduce yourself and give us a feel for your entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. I grew up in the 80s where it was a you can have it all generation. You can be a great partner, you can have a successful career, you can have these great children. I think we learned later that's a little more difficult than that. I did not set out as a child to start my own business. I think what I did was I went through kind of the standard channels that I was told I should do. I should go to high school. I should go to college. And I came out with a very successful investment banking career, which I really did enjoy. And I think what happened to me in those few years of banking was I saw some inefficiencies in the system and things that I felt could be done better. And how, as a business person, can you be a little bit more efficient? Can you change the way things have always been done? And it honestly was not a difficult decision at all. I left banking and started a gym, like a fitness center was my first company. And I was also young, so I didn't feel the risk that I might have felt had I been married or had I had children or other financial responsibilities. I just felt that I saw a way that things could be done differently. And from that experience, managing people, managing a construction project, I realized that it really wasn't just me starting a business. It really was the entire team, all of the employees, all the contractors. And really, I just respected all the work that my teammates did, and I've learned to surround myself with good people, and that's helped me open a few other companies. And I feel like the stronger the team, the stronger the business, honestly.
Well, I mean, what you shared is very insightful because oftentimes you don't always hear business owners recognize how important their human capital is that they have that are a part of their business. And even, of course, I'm sure both of us know, even on the corporate side of the house. And it sounds like a strong impetus for you to look at owning your own business was that you had some insight in how to drive efficiencies, meaning profitability on your own. And you got a chance as an entrepreneur to make that happen. So kudos to you. The other thing that I think sometimes when we think about starting a business or, coming out of COVID, so many people were just trying to survive in their business and now looking towards thriving. Can you think of anything in your business days or even currently now in the business that you operate with your husband? Can you think about challenges where you were like, okay, I don't know how we're going to make it out of this one? Or maybe you didn't have that. Maybe you can share some insight into how you had that resiliency to know this might be really, really difficult. I might not know when we're going to overcome whatever this challenge is, whether it's a new contract, whether it's just, slowing in the business, but I know we're going to emerge better than we were before. Maybe you can share some insight that might encourage people.
Absolutely. I think and this goes for all businesses, whether you own a business or whether you work within a company, once you've been around long enough, you realize that there are going to be ups and downs. And, you certainly kind of have to take the emotional piece out of that because sometimes it does add stress. But business is cyclical, whether it's COVID, whether it's there're gonna be really great times and there're gonna be really tricky times. And honestly, I think just specifically to COVID, the entire workforce has changed, and we recognize that as really on a global level, that the workforce has changed, and you can either fight that change or you can modify your company to the labor um, shortage and change of mindset that we're being faced with. And it's not, I mean, I guess my perspective is you could take it as a negative, or you could talk to people and figure out what kind of working environment they want to be in and how do they want to have an impact with their company and how do they want to work with people? Do they want to work at home? And the more you listen to how people want to work now, it's just a change. And I think if you react to people's needs, then it can be maybe a more positive change.
Mm, mm. So tell me, the businesses that you are running or have ran, were they businesses that you started from the ground up? Were they businesses that you purchased? Tell me a little bit about the process that you went into. I mean, you could pick any one of we know that to be, wealthy in entrepreneurship, most people say, people have started 17 companies. So anyway, so however many there are, can you pick one and kind of identify the process you went through, whether it's through acquisition or from the ground up?
They've all been from the ground up, and that's different than a lot of people. I think a lot of entrepreneurs get into a more franchise model to begin with. Honestly, the common theme among my businesses is my passion. It's what got me excited. And when I was an investment banker, I started training people to run a marathon on the side, and then that little side gig made me happy, and I wanted to keep training people to run marathons, but I couldn't fit it all into one weekend. So, I came back to Richmond, and I bought myself a building in a neighborhood that needed to be rehabilitated a bit. I utilized some grant money, and I decided that I was going to open a gym, and I was going to be a personal trainer, and I was going to surround myself with a bunch of other people that love fitness. And then we grew that to 3 sites within the
Wow.
Richmond area. And then we were thriving because it was fun. I enjoyed what I was doing every day. I didn't mind, being at the gym at 6 a.m. because I would have been there anywhere. The next company we started, my husband noticed a change in what he was doing, and he sold construction equipment, and he was going to all of his clients and realized that they had these enormous piles of concrete piling up on their property. Finally, he asked, "What's going on? Why so much concrete just sitting here?" And he didn't realize that Obama had changed the law that you could only throw away a certain percentage of recyclable material into the landfills. So now you had all these contractors with nothing to do with their waste products because they weren't allowed to throw it in the landfill anymore. So we ran some numbers. We saw this opportunity of what are all these people going to do with all this concrete that they can no longer bury? And we went out and we bought a crushing machine, and we went to clean up asphalt and concrete. And it was just a change. It was a change in a law that provided this opportunity for us. And, it sounds like, from a gym to a recycling business sounds very different, but I really have found that the structure of any type of business is really run the same way. You always have to have a strong financial model. You always have to have goals and timelines and a good management team. And once you figure out that every company is just selling something, you kind of figure out how you don't need to recreate the wheel, whether it's you're selling fitness or you're selling concrete. It's the same structure.
Wow.
And
Go ahead.
yeah, so I mean, I was going to share a third company, but we might.
No, go ahead.
The third company was product based, and that was out of necessity. I do a lot of volunteering in world of cancer and for the VCU health system, and create a product that helped women after they had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And that, again, was just a product out of something that I was passionate about. But again, same system, selling a different type of product, and all things that really meant something very important to me.
So that the reason why I was excited that you were a multi-business owner is because I think that the whole process that you described would be a benefit to our listeners to understand there is a model, there is a blueprint, and much of that model is transferable from one business to the other. I love how you talked about all of them started with something that you were passionate about. Because another thing that you said that our listeners should pay attention to is that business ownership isn't always easy. In fact, it's usually not easy at all. So you want to be passionate about it, such that you can have some stick-to-itness, some tenacity in challenging times. But starting with your passion, identifying what the idea or the concepts that are around your business. We've recently been talking with some folks about the different phases of an entrepreneur before launch, the ideation or conceptualizing. Looking at it from the standpoint of what kind of research you need to do to understand your market and your target customers, determining what's going to be your corporate structure and your play in the market, developing and cultivating banking relationships to build on your access to capital, all the way through that. And so one of the things that is interesting to me, when you were in banking, were those relationships or just being in that role, did that help strengthen your network? I don't know to what extent you leveraged external capital to start any of your businesses, but talk a little bit about your affiliation and your network and how they may have played a role in your ability to identify opportunities and then attack those opportunities.
I wouldn't say that working within the bank created leverage for any of the companies. What I would say is that I really try to have meaningful conversations with everybody that I meet. And it does happen occasionally where I will find myself in a problem that I cannot figure out the answer to. And I kind of go back through my head and my Rolodex and I'm like, okay, who specializes in this, or who has a strength that will meet my weakness that I can call and ask for help? And I think that's important to be aware that as an entrepreneur, you don't have to be able to do everything perfectly. What you do have to do is to be gracious enough, humble enough to ask for help when you need it. So I'm not sure if I've never really utilized relationships in terms of what I would call a network. What I do think is to really remember what other people do well, because usually if people have a specialty, they're willing to share it with you if you need it. I certainly would say before starting a business, it's so important to get embedded in the local entrepreneurship kind of system and mentorship programs, because I can't tell you how many coaches that have helped coach me and that have also received coaching from other people. I think it's a very important system to get involved with. So it's not that it would necessarily network in terms of you can get something from that person, but I think it's a good support system. I think it helps you be aware of setting boundaries, getting to know the business system, so you don't find yourself kind of recreating the wheel every time you find a problem.
Well, that is an awesome segue. Again, the Women's Business Center of Richmond is located on the campus of Virginia Union University. We exist to help people give life or give birth to their entrepreneurship ideas and turn them into tangible, profitable businesses. And the exciting thing that you mentioned is the value of coaching and becoming a part of an entrepreneurship community that kind of gives life and energy, not just as someone who can glean and learn some things, but also, business owners have, and I know that one of your philosophies is that business owners can learn from each other a good bit. And so I'm excited as the host of this show on ESPN Richmond's 106.1 to be able to bring to life some of the things that people are doing. Now, I know that you're also offering your skills, your experience, your knowledge and wisdom in the area of providing some leadership training within a cohort of CEOs. Can you talk a little bit about, that value of going from, some people are owner operators and some people get to the point where they're actually able to manage and run their business without being in the day to day. And so I'm curious to know, when you think about it, that's a huge leadership jump. And you kind of mentioned that, you really are, you find executive leadership models and things of that very interesting. So can you talk about moving from being an owner operator to really just being an owner where you're managing the business?
I think the most important piece of that is to mentor someone and not feel intimidated by hiring someone that might do it better than you. What you're really looking for is a teammate and someone that is willing to be trained, and that you as the owner are also willing to respect that they might have like a stronger set of successful traits than you do. I think the most important part about finding a manager for your company so that it frees up your time so you can actually own and run and look beyond the day to day. I think the biggest thing, honestly, is finding the right person and constantly training them. And it's not a micromanagement style. It's more of a helping them hone the skills that they want to and that will help them be successful as a manager. Because really the only way out of the day to day is to have a manager that is extremely capable and that you've been able to share your strengths with.
Excellent. That's so important. I've talked to people who have like janitorial services. I've talked to people with landscaping businesses, people who, do products, sell retail and things like that. And a lot of times, because of their passion, they're very much integrated into the day to day. But when you do that, a lot of times your growth is a little bit stunted, right? So it's impossible for you to have 3 fitness centers throughout the city and you do everything for all 3 of them. But you have to have competent people. I think you said people you can trust, and constantly pour into them. And I say invest into them such that they understand the brand, understand the operations model, and that you still exercise control, but you're not that day-to-day, person running, jumping, catching, doing everything. I'm curious to know a little bit more about the business where you productize something. I don't know if you manufacture, if you use a third-party manufacturer, but can you talk, what is the name of, or what is the name under which you operate the products that you sell to women who are recovering after their, I guess, post-operative cancer treatments?
So the name of the company is Tata Topper, and it is a mattress topper for women that have had a mastectomy, most likely due to breast cancer, but could have been a preventative surgery, and that they are unable to sleep on their stomachs after surgery. So it was developed, honestly, out of a personal experience. I had a preventative mastectomy because my mother and my aunts had breast cancer. And really, I had a unsuccessful post-operative experience, so I created a mattress topper with a friend of mine. And then we found that there were lots of other women that had this problem, and we started selling it. And we asked for help from a lot of people because we developed this idea, and then we honestly partnered with a local foam maker to make the mattress topper. We had a marketing company that was also local to Richmond help us design a box, and the sheets were made in China. I mean, it really was a group effort with a lot of moving parts. Just getting patents and that kind of thing was a different thing because I'd always been in the service industry and this was a product. But really, there were so many moving parts to it, and I'm just so happy that it can help people. People call all the time looking for them, and it just makes me happy that it's making their experience better in a really kind of downtime.
Yeah, that sounds like something that personal experience was really the fuel that kept it moving. I could imagine someone going into a space and you know, manufacturing or you know, a supply chain that involves foreign countries for a lot of people could appear intimidating. The investment needed to secure your intellectual property and things of that nature. Can you go through that a little bit more in terms of you know, at some point are you developing relationships with cancer centers? Um, do you market, advertise the product? Does it have a nationwide distribution? Tell me a little bit more about the process by which people can get your products.
So I gave you a quick summary. It didn't happen that quickly. It really took about a year.
Uh-huh.
And, there was a need. And then I decided we could fix this problem of not being able to, when you're asleep, you don't really know what you're doing. So I had this problem. And then someone told me about a phone manufacturer that was right up in Ashland, Virginia. And I drove up there, talked to the owner, asked him if he could make me this kind of different looking kind of pillows so that I could sleep. And then he did. And my friend sewed me a sheet to fit this topper.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a friend that had the same surgery about a month later. And she
Okay.
said, well, can you make me one? I said, okay, I can make you one. I drove up to Ashland and did it
Uh-huh.
again. And then she had two friends. And then there was another
Wow.
person. And then there was a cousin from like Waynesboro. And slowly but surely, people were asking for this pillow that really I had just made for myself so that I wouldn't, have trouble sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how it came to be. I did not intend to develop this company. What happened was people were asking me, and foam is extremely expensive. So I was like, wow, there surely can be a cheaper way to do this because they were costing so much money. And that is how it began. We found a company that could produce the foam topper, the sheet, and the box all at one plant. And that is how we
Okay.
could get them cheaper.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent.
But it was
And
a very slow process. It's not
is
quick.
there a website or is there um,
We
that
spent a
people order them,
long
or is it
time.
still based on being a part of that network?
So we started really in hospitals and stores that supported breast cancer patients specifically.
Gotcha. Uh-huh.
So there are quite a few of them. So we drove around the state, meeting with plastic surgeons and these small pharmacy type companies where women knew to go to for certain things like wigs and prosthetics and things like that.
Gotcha.
And we did sell retail initially, and retail stores take a large margin, so it kept our product expensive. And the whole goal was to keep it inexpensive so that any woman could have it, not just some women.
Yes.
So we changed our model and we decided to start selling on Amazon instead, and they took a much smaller percentage of our profit. We could decrease the price, and we could ship for free to anybody in the country instead of just keeping it local. So the shipping costs were a huge problem to retail stores, and Amazon took that off of the consumer's plate. So what we were really trying to do is drive down the price so that more women could have it.
Excellent. I mean, this is really, I just think it's so awesome. You know, if you have to go through um, scenarios like that, and you know, it's already a health challenge. Some people have a great support network, some don't. But when you go through it, now you're on the healing side of it. Having something that makes that more effective or less discomforting. I think you said you had a not so good post operative experience. and now to know that there's something there. It's just a feel-good story, but the utility of your design and the difference it makes in the lives of women undergoing that is just like a story that needs to be told over and over again, and grow your sales and do all of those great things. So, I mean, our time together has been extremely well spent. I am always excited to talk to people who, I mean, whether you realize it, I'm sure you do realize it, but for me, is peeling back the onion. You start with an entrepreneurship journey, then you find we got an inventor in the house. We have someone who's in a rugged industry like construction, and with everything going on with the Diamond District project, I'm sure that business is doing well. What is the name of the construction business?
Our company is Logan Aggregate Recycling.
Aggregate recycling. Awesome.
Mhm.
And so, Michelle, if anyone wants to reach out to contact you or anything, is there, you know, any social network hooks, your LinkedIn that you want to share?
The easiest place to find me is on LinkedIn, Michelle Logan, and under Logan Aggregate Recycling. That's the fastest way. But going through the website, and that, you know, you can go through the Logan Aggregate Recycling website. You can, yeah, I would say LinkedIn or the website are probably the easiest to find online.
Outstanding. Again, we at the Women's Business Center of Richmond was excited to bring this episode focusing on the many hats that you can wear as an entrepreneur. And it's not just a one and done. It's not just a one only. You can run and operate and manage multiple businesses. I love the Michelle Logan story that starts with passion, with an injection of competence and capability. I hear, you know, how resourceful you have been in terms of leveraging your contacts. I know you said you don't feel like you network in that way, but what it says is that you do have a network. You're not just having it for the purpose of growing your business. It just happens that it evolved into something that was useful to you. And so again, we're excited to come to you every Wednesday morning at 5:30 a.m. on ESPN Richmond 106.1. And if you have any need for the Women's Business Center services at all, please reach out to us. Our socials are the WBC Richmond. That's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you and have a great day.